Races today, as we see Elian Pacanella for the Villiers Vittoria squad getting ready to head to the front row. Under 23 men's cross-country Olympic first race of their season. It's a sunny day here in Brazil, sunny day in Flanders as well for one of road cycling's big days out. Some of the biggest names coming together nicely towards the business end of that one. But here in Brazil, we are getting ready to go for one of the most unpredictable, hotly contested races of the day. Rens Tunis and Van Manen gets ready to head to the line. My name is Rick McLaughlin. Joining me in the commentary booth, a triple Olympian, a man getting updates from a beer garden in Flanders alongside me, Ollie Beckinsale. But you wouldn't be anywhere else on earth, would you?
This is the only place to be. Forget Flanders. It's all about Brazil.
You said that so flatly. Tom Schellikens also on the front row alongside this man, Paul Schell, German rider for the Lexware mountain bike team. There's Finn Trudel, really one of the standout riders left in this class after the biggest names really moved up.
Yeah, big change this year in U23s.
We saw this in the race previous to this, the under-23 women's race, where, you know, it really is some new faces at the front of it. So many having moved up into elites. There's Gustav Heavy Pedersen, the Danish national title holder. Be one of the pre-season favourites in this one. This man, Braden Johnson, had an absolutely superb dig at the short track race yesterday, Ollie.
Yeah, big jump up, big PB, 11th at Worlds at XC last year, but not in that podium before.
Johnson heads to the front row then, the American. Last one onto the front row then, in the red jersey of the overall points leader, Sondre Rocket. The Norwegian getting his first cross-country short-track win yesterday afternoon. And although that may have been hard on the legs, Ollie, confidence will be through the roof.
Yeah, and it's the same for all these guys out front. They're all going to put a big effort in yesterday, and yeah, confidence.
Rocket, Johnson, Pedersen, Trudel, Schell, Tunis and Van Manen. Tom Schellikens, we'll talk about him once the race gets underway. Maxime Lom, Jack Spangler, Sven Gehrig, Cornelion in there as well. Plenty of pedigree, plenty of new names as well this season. Tension building down on the start line as we get ready to go under starters' orders. First round of the season. The first time these riders will see the green lights at a UCI cross-country Olympic distance World Cup this year. Shot, good start from Trudel, but it's Italian on the right-hand side. Huge crash. Oof. Huge crash here early doors in Araxá. 4 or 5 riders taken out, 2 or 3 of them still on the deck. Medics will be on the scene as quickly as possible, but just everyone seemed to get tangled up on the left-hand side there, Ollie.
Pretty rare we see a big crash at the start. I mean, you always know it's got potential, but super rare.
We'll get a replay of that very, very shortly. There'll be more fireworks as they head through this multi-line section now. On to the base of the climb, 23 degrees Celsius. The temperature rising here in Araxá.
It's Daniel English, Trinity rider, 37 on the number board. He's leading it through this big scrap for this first climb.
Here is a replay of that start. Ollie, look at the right-hand side of our screens. Talk us through it.
Yeah, just coming through, everyone clipping, got the big wide bars. It's the... Oh, and it's almost like a chain break or...
Something gave there, didn't it?
Oh, I think it was Porchel, the Lexware rider, whether his foot clipped out or the chain broke. He went over the bars and then just caused this massive... Whoa, that was big. Everyone at full power, full pace. Yeah, Porchel, the Lexware rider. He was the first guy to go down.
From the front row, Porchel.
Whoa.
Dumped to the floor. You see the sheer amount of energy that those guys hit the deck with. Gives you an idea of the watts off the line. But let's head back towards the front of it then.
Daniel English, the American on Trinity, as well, coming back 16th on the grid. He had to start, so that's getting a wiggle on to move from there to leading up this first main climb.
Trudel slightly shuffled back in the pack. That it has a ripple effect, that stress of a crash, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, all on that side.
Look who's at the front, though. Sondre Rocket in that red jersey of the overall points leader after the short track yesterday. So the Norwegian. Ollie, how important is it first lap of a cross-country race? Although it looks aggressive to be out front, it's the safest place to be.
I mean, it's one of those things to say you're not going to win the race on the first lap. There's a good chance of losing it. You know, Porchel proves that 100%.
Porchel, well, he was up and moving as everyone else was. We'll give you any updates if we get them, but for now, everyone looks to be in one piece.
But it's all about just being able to position yourself. You can sit, and if you're one of the favourites today and you're fighting out for that podium, you know, you really got to be in the top 10. Just on this corner now, you see everyone just starts bulking together. The chance of catching bars, having to clip out, have a little run, pretty high. You see that kind of green on the corner. As soon as you go off the racing line, it's a load of moss that just sits there. Super slippery, chance of wheel spin, losing the front wheel is pretty high, and you see the riders just pinning that in front corner. The first guy to ride that inside corner, so difficult.
Yeah, you've got two distinct options there, haven't you? Go tight inside, deploy the cyclocross skills, or go round the outside, stay on the bike, avoid losing time, clipping back in again.
But you can see those roots on the inside, they're about a foot high, you know, good 30 centimetres or so.
Yeah, you can see the remnants of the old hotel there on the right-hand side of your screen. But out front, Maxime Lohrmuth, Switzerland. 7 laps the journey here for the under-23 men's race.
Yeah, and today, it's like I said before the start, it's a real mixed bag. You've got riders coming through at a rapid rate. You've got junior riders moving up from the lower division. And then you've got the favourites like Trudel, who, on paper, are kind of the next winner. But it's just this massive mix-up, and in this first race, you're never quite sure. And then mix into that the fact that everyone's had a winter apart, you're never quite sure of your form and condition. It's Forster Feudal.
Forster Feudal, leader. And Clark, English, Trudel, Kruger.
Yeah, I mean, to be getting a gap lap 1 for a rider ranked, you know, 230 in the world rankings is he's had a good winter.
Well, we mentioned it, didn't we, in the under-23 women's race? You know, a good example was Gina Kaluri last time out, who was the red-hot season favourite. You know, the riders who were beating her the year before had all moved up, and it didn't pan out for her. And as much as it's an opportunity for the likes of Finn Trudel, you always have to be aware of someone younger and faster coming up through the ranks. Forsterval absolutely demolishing this first descent through the Red Bull Energy Zone section. Choosing the riders left of the track.
Yeah, he needs a big gaps for lap 1.
Really, really fast technical descent down from the top of the course. And you can see just how more complicated that starts to look whenever you've got riders left and right.
Forster Feudal 15th at the World Champs in this category last year, so...
Sasha Hadima up in 4th as well, KMC Ridley rider. Good start from him. Tom Shellikins down in 12th, a rider I mean, we mentioned Flanders earlier on. He's really come from the road, hasn't he? Visma's development squad.
Yeah, making that transition. Mountain bike when he was younger, moved over, huge potential, moved over to the road. This year having to flip back to KMC Ridley. You know, he's clearly got the horsepower.
Yeah, definitely, and he will be coached every step of the way by Bart Brentjens. No shortage of horsepower in those legs. Farstad Volt.
8-second gap already on lap 1.
Yeah, giving it a good go early doors here, isn't he?
And I say from last year, this is that huge mix-up. You know, on paper, you know, showing potential at World Championships, like say with the top 20, but early season racing, we have a few kind of big races in Europe, where you, and one in the US as well, where you can kind of judge form. And you know, he's got 16th, 20th in the 2 big races in Spain, the higher category warm-up races, and but to hit in this and getting a 10-second gap on a rider like Finn Trudel on first lap is pretty bonkers. Owen Clark, Canadian, third, 15 seconds. Lorna Roker as well, winner of the short track yesterday, 22 seconds now, 5th place. But yeah, Finn Trudel, well, 5th overall last year, 2nd in round in this race last year.
Yeah, it was sort of fits and starts at time for Trudler last season. Tell you what, though, if Farstad is planned to ride all 7 laps at this tempo, they'll have to put a catch net out at the finish line to get him slowed down.
But the speed he's going, it's just ripping the whole field to bits. I would have expected a group of maybe 10 at this first lap at this point, but we got 22 seconds back to 5th place.
As much as it makes it hard for us here in the booth, this is why you love under-23 men's cross-country racing. You never know.
It's the biggest mash-up of the weekend.
They're jumping the bridge halfway through the pack. Yeah, you just never know which of them is going to wake up with the legs that day and just take it on from the front. And there he is, Farstad. The motorbike struggling to keep up with him. Into this really just soul-sapping section around the lake. This course, we always talk about how it's difficult on 2 fronts. It's difficult because how technical the climb is. It's difficult because of the speed of the descents and the jumps. There's actually a third factor, which is this kind of like finish loop around the lake, which is bone flat on grass. The surface of it is very busy with roots. Then they hit the tarmac again.
So this is that nice little respite. They've got a chance to go. There's 2 tech zones, but this is the only one where you can take on water as well. So it's a chance, like you say, water down the neck, trying to keep the cool temperature. As we're getting into the day now, heat's rising, core body temperature. It's really important to keep that stable. If that gets too hot, the body literally just stops dead in your tracks on the climbs.
You can see the big, long start-finish straight here outside the Grand Hotel in Araxá. Not exactly straight either. Where it does straighten up, you can see in that shot for the start-finish line. If you do want to take it to a sprint finish, it's got the width, but you don't have a lot of a run-in to play with. So it currently stands at Farstad, Trudler, Clark, your top 3. Then it's Pedersen, Houdema, Rocket, Tunissen, Van Manen, Pacanella, Schellekens and Ronstedt all together. Then there's this second chasing group, Braden Johnson back in there.
But this early first lap pace would have taken a chunk of riders. 8:53 lap for the first one. I mean, rocket fast.
But look at Trudler, the European champion. You can see with the white and blue stripes on his jersey, has somehow bridged the gap to Farstad, who has gone off like he's been shot out of a cannon.
But I think for Finn Trudel as well, a rider he probably doesn't know too much about. Would have caught him a bit by surprise. He sat on the wheel. I was
going to ask you, does that play into it? You know, if it's someone you're used to racing, you kind of know whether strong, know whether good.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. The same in here, really, isn't it?
But you know, you're sitting there and someone's just done a rocket fast first lap. You're over your pace that you expected to, but you know as a kind of race favourite, you've got to follow them. And you're trying to work it out and trying to get your head around, have they got this form for the next amount of laps, or have they just badly paced it?
Yeah. It is Definitely a fascinating one here, but Trudel looks like he is making the Norwegian pay for that early race pace.
And I think that's our answer. As fast of all, I think he thought he was doing a one-lap time trial. Someone forgot to tell him it was 7 laps.
6 to go. 6 to go, back her off.
Yeah, slightly...
Look, he's absolutely...
confusing tactics.
He's absolutely monstered up there, Finn Trudel.
Yeah, I mean, there's getting some clear ground and wanting to get ahead of the game. And then there's leading by 10 seconds on lap 1.
Pedersen in 4th, Pacanella in 5th, Tunis and Van Manen in 6th, the big horse. Corin Carrick Anderson, 15th as well. Good short track from Carrick Anderson.
Yeah, number 42 coming into this race, and really good short track. And it's, like I said, that short track race, as well as it being a race in its own right, it's actually the gridding for today. So someone like Corin Carrick Anderson, he can jump through from his initial ranking up to that top 10 and then try and utilise that in the race. And the grid position makes such a big difference. You just stay away from the traffic and the chaos.
It's that Crawford we're watching on the Tweed Valley back in Scotland. It's still a very, very busy pack, this, but we can see...
Yeah, Thibaut Francois Baudry from Canyon Collective was one of the riders who actually went down in that first crash. He was one of the guys who had to get off the floor. He got off the floor pretty quick on that start line crash, but once the adrenaline's worn off, he realised actually give himself a bit of a smack. Not surprised, he went flying over the bars.
Yeah, he sacked it off. Like, who can blame him after that start line crash we had earlier on in the race? 4 or 5 riders collected up after it looked like some sort of failure on the bike of Paul Schnell from the front line. Maybe a free hub slipped or something, and that was enough to collect everyone else right as they were deploying maximum firepower into the ground.
Yeah, and Francois Baudry was the next rider behind Shell, so as soon as Shells went down, he just had nowhere to go. He was straight out the front door. It's Owen Clark taking up the pace in second. Stoivel as well after that really, really rapid first lap. It'll be interesting to see if he can just settle down into this group.
It's still all over the place, this race. You can see the red jersey of Sandro Roque, the winner of the short track yesterday. He's in there amongst the KMC Ridley riders.
Interesting, got 3 riders from that KMC Ridley team really strong in the U23. Whether they can get a bit of, whether it's possible to work together a little bit, especially along that flatter kilometre at the bottom through the start-finish.
Martins Blooms, their elite number 1, will not contest the men's race. We're here today after injury sustained. Actually came together mid-air with one of his teammates in practice. Finn Trudel, though, we did say pre-race favourite. All eyes were on this man, the Cube Factory Racing rider, with that really trademark horizontal position over the top tube. Gets really low over the bike, doesn't he?
Yeah, really low. I mean, that was a really good example as we followed through the Red Bull section then about how much the upper body was working. Almost his head stable all the way down, but just the elbows up and down all over the shop.
And look at this. This is about to get very busy through here.
And it's Pedersen as well taking it on.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because in downhill, the descending technique has really evolved lately. Riders like Jackson Goldstone, Laurie Greenland, becoming much more upright on the bike. You see much further, whereas in cross-country, they're really, really like horizontal now over the bikes.
Yeah, I mean, there's an anomaly to someone like Simon and Anderson. You know, he sits pretty upright. Yeah. They're trying to balance, and there's cross-country, and that's what it's always about, and the bikes and the setup. It's always trying to find that mix, especially on a course like this, between technical and the climbing and the aerodynamics. The bikes, you know, the riders are going faster and faster, so being that little bit lower in your shoulders makes a difference.
We saw yesterday in the elite short tracks, the elite women's winning average speed north of 27 kilometers an hour. Elite men was 33 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, it's bonkers, isn't it?
Speeds, I mean, the bikes are getting so much more aggressive in terms of their angles, the amount of suspension travel they've got, the size of the brakes, and riders are pushing them harder and harder, and courses like this, Ollie, we need to talk about it. It's really what many people see as the future of this sport in terms of its design.
Yeah, second year at this course in Araxá. She's had Brazilian national races for a number of years, 10 years or so, and look, a lot of riders turned up here last year, and this course raised the bar in terms of technicality and a game changer. Look, took a lot of riders by surprise, but we see this year the amount of guys who've gone back. You saw in the under-23 women's how capable everybody was. It's absolutely smashing the A-lines. You can see how much work's gone into it. So over the years, the mountain biking has got more technical, and that physical balance has gone a bit more towards the technical side, but then this course went another level. There's almost a mixed bag between the two. But the riders taking it on, adapting, improving, the bike tech improving as well.
And there's a bobble there at the base of that climb. Rider off and running. A chance to grab the number, but no one else seemed to be caught up too much in it. I think as well, if you ride mountain bikes, if you're an average mountain biker like myself, courses like this, you want to go and ride them. It makes you, they're aspirational. You want to be able to do these jumps. You want to be able to travel at this speed, and I think that's just a healthier place for the sport. Yeah,
and you see a lot of the racers enjoying it. You know, Matthias Flukinger put a picture out this weekend, literally the bike flat on the top. But it's wanting to ride it, wanting to practice on it. But I think if you're on this course now and you don't enjoy the descents, you're tight on them when you're scared of them, you're almost out the race. You've got to embrace it and love it.
What this place proved last year, I think, was that these top riders more than have the capabilities to ride at this speed over jumps this size, gaps this size. Let them,
But it's just these incremental shifts, and I think last year was when we came to this course, I think it was a jump forward in terms of technicality. Some of the doubles are the biggest that we've ever seen. Rock Garden, some of the biggest we've seen, but also it's the intensity of the descent. So you get occasional, courses will have one hard or two hard sections per lap. It's got about 10 or 12 sections that I would call kind of A grade, in terms of technicality.
Well, Finn Troidler leads the way here in Araxá. Gustav Heavy Pedersen leads this train behind him. There is your leader. Looks like he's really putting an effort in now.
Finn Troidler was forced to obviously do that first lap pretty hard as he chased down Fastoivel on that first lap. But that left him, I don't think it did him any harm. It pulled him away from these chasers. He's not getting involved in this scrap. What will be interesting to see is, was that really high-paced first lap? Will that come back and bite him?
Yeah, you can see the KMC Ridley squad there in the lime green. Free riders in this group. Villiers Vittoria have a couple in there as well. So we saw in the under-23 women's race the flip side of the coin, both sides of it, didn't we? And riding as a group can really help those struggling for pace. At the same time, it can also kill off some hopes and dreams.
Yeah, and I think round here as well, you can almost start to trip each other up on this section as we're coming through now. We see the two KMC Ridley riders hitting the front. There's some advantages of being in a group, but once we hit the next climb, then the risk is you can end up taking each other out on the techie bits.
Hoogs is in there, Shallikins is in there, Cornelion, Johnson, Sondra Rocket in 8th place in that red jersey of the overall points leader. There's Rens, Tunis and Van Manen to the right-hand side of his teammate. Just jostling for position slightly as they head on to the base of this climb. And this is one of the key parts of the course, Ollie, isn't it? You want to be in the right spot when you hit here.
Yeah, so this climb, this is the first hit, almost kind of three really pivotal parts on this hill. This is the first one, 25% on that inside line that they're hitting, and it's got a load of roots. The surface is a bit slippery as well. Like we say here, Heavy Pedersen just a little bit further back, he gets snarled, and the next thing you know, you're 10 seconds behind at the top of the climb. So ideally you want to be second wheel, third wheel in this big group. Never underestimate as well the dangers of chasing on too hard as well. It just forces mistakes out of riders, and KMC Ridley taking this on from the front then. Yeah, and the Shellikins as well. So interesting, mountain biking when he was younger, flipped over to the road, was on the Visma development squad. Big Dutch team, and coming back to the mountain bike 100% this year. And this is the advantage for him of having the short track racing. His grid position, having not mountain bike much last year, was far down. Did a good short track, that moves him up onto the front row. And now he's straight at the front of this race, pushing the pace. And
Yeah, well, definitely one of those ones that, you know, this class dominated by some of the names now in elite this season last year, and definitely kind of feel for the likes of Rennes, Tunis and Baumann, and big opportunity this season. But as we see Finn Troidler's continuing quest to rest his chin on his stem as he heads this. Here's the inside. Look, neatly does it through there. There's those cyclocross skills.
Yeah, and we saw Emma Clean Howell do that on a couple of laps, and actually it was working out similar pace to doing the longer ride around the outside.
The pinch point of that move is getting clipped back into your pedals quickly. If you don't get the cleat to contact the pedal smoothly.
When good riders dismount on and off, they don't lose any time. It's almost like it's just that natural, like running pace. They don't fall back at all.
Break it down for us, Ollie, what we mean by that, because you see one of the Cube Factory racing riders go in and do the same thing. Yeah, but when we say clip back in, the shoe physically clips onto the pedal. Yeah,
we've got a little ski binding system. They have to clip in. It rotates to the outside to unclip. But what happens is when you get off, some guys, it's something that you practice. And if you the obvious discipline is cyclocross in the winter, and they have purposeful dismounts where you have to get on and off. And those guys, they don't lose any time. It's just a flowing motion between riding to dismounting to running to remounting. There's no change almost in speed. They're so good at it. But that techie section, that little corner last year in the race course, one of the changes, you hit it straight, so you could carry speed and momentum and straight into the downhill. This year they made that 180 corner and it makes it really techie.
There we go. Troidler from Schellikens then, Tunis and Van Manen. Hoogs, 29 seconds now, the gap Troidler has built himself, so we'll keep an eye on that, see if it comes down at all.
But we know the strength of the two KMC Wrigley guys, especially Tunnison as well. And on paper, he was 10th overall in the race last year. So on paper, from the overall guys that are still in the field, he's the second highest. So we know we're going to be one of the favourites today. Him combining with Schellikens as well, with a team, and then sitting at the front of this group and driving it, I think that's a really good combo.
Two Willier Vittoria riders still together. Troidler rocketing down that Red Bull Energy Zone descent.
Yeah, Troidler, European champion.
Looking every ounce of that today here in Araxá. And as you say, the question kind of remains, is this early pace going to hurt him? Really beasting his way up there.
Yeah, that one tough, and it just shows the demands of the mountain bike at the moment. These real peak power sections, they're probably hitting 80% of peak power on that one. You know, 700-800 watts. So that 20-30 seconds he's going to have to hit.
Really unusual descending style as well. He's that far forward over the front axle. The back end sort of seems to kick up on him every now and again. Oh, yeah, front wheel heavy there from Schellikens, managed to get away with it.
Yeah, and a number of these riders having to go down, I would call it the B line, not officially, but down that's what we're looking at as the right side, and it's definitely a bit slower than straight down the middle.
So Troidler, Schellikens, Rocca, 35 seconds the gap now. Then it's Rennes, Tunis, Van Manen, Hoogs, Cornelion, Pacanella, Pedersen, Houdima. This little right-hand berm leading us into...
Again, it's a big rock section. A-line, 3 lines on this one. These guys rocking down the A-line. We've got a gap jump and a bigger gap jump at the bottom. About a couple of meters across that one. You see on this overhead shot how big it is.
See the leading KMC Ridley rider, Schellikens. A lot of dirt on his shoulder. Looks like he's been down somewhere. Not slowing him down too much, though.
Again, all these riders. Again, another A-line, B-line section. All these guys hitting the A. B to the side. Probably about 5 seconds different or so across the whole length of it.
There's the #1 jersey. Sondra Rocket. Make them pretty easy to spot in amongst this group.
That's right turn, then 2 big double jumps. Second one is a monster.
Yeah, big old gap jump. After this one, oh, Gustav Heavy Pedersen landing deep there. Further down the landing than maybe he would have wanted.
See the power Schellikens as well, just dropping his heels. 2 bike lengths over Rocker.
I've just had to dispatch and emphasise what capybara that was taken off across our commentary desk here in the booth. Down through the jump section now. Really, Shelikin's leading the charge here.
Yeah, he's looking great.
We mentioned them in the under-23 women's race, but it really feels like KMC Ridley, you know, quite an old-school setup. You know, very much you know, endurance, stamina-based sort of approach to racing. And the way they've taken to the track here in Araxá this week, they've retooled for this season, haven't they?
100%. Shelikin's coming in new. We saw Carla Han in the under-23 women's as well. Number of new signings for the team across all the categories, and all looking really good in practice in the week, utilising a skills coach like a lot of the other race teams as well. So they've normally got someone probably from a downhill or endurance background out on the course as a staff member, learning the course and then teaching the riders the lines, working through it together. That saves a huge amount of energy, time. Like I say, wrecking in this heat is not easy, and a number of the teams having skills coaches now.
And I mean, that is depending on the team, of course, as they head in through the tech feed zone to take on feeds and bottles. Dump bottles going overheads now, so temperature getting up outside. That's the first time we've seen that today so far.
Yeah, really important to keep that core body temperature down from start to finish. You see riders trying to start as cool as possible, so a lot will have ice vests on.
It's really interesting you mentioned the technical coaches out on course with the riders. Depending on the team, I mean, their decision can be final, can't it? You're going to ride these tyres and you're going to ride this line through there. And that's part of the process. It takes that decision-making away from the rider. It's something less to be stressed about when somebody tells you this is what you're doing. Yeah,
100%. There's too many options, and sometimes I used to find I'm really stressed. I start messing with things, and I think when people get nervous, then the natural thing is to start thinking of making changes, and it's really difficult just to stick. The common sense thing is to stick with what you've trained with all week. Sometimes it's good to have that skills coach, like say, this is the line we've practiced, stick with it. These are the tyres I recommend. These are the pressures. Done.
36 seconds now. Finn Trudel leads this chasing pack.
Another rider doing a good start just on the back of that group. French rider from Massey. Again, 27 if he started on the grid, so he's just moving up through. Seeing the white with the black shorts. This group, they're not hanging around.
Nope. Rens, Tunis and Van Manen then takes the wider entry line in the bottom of this climb, leading this chasing group. 35 seconds the distance to the leader, Finn Trudel, who we do know is pushing it on at the front. There he is. The group just coming together slightly behind him.
Interesting rider in this group as well. Just caught my attention, Norwegian rider. Nikolai Hoots on the Cube team. So he's Danish, first year in the under-23 category. He's third in Junior Worlds last year, and he's now in that big group, or that second group, 6-7. So cracking race. He had to start 30th on the grid and move his way forward. So see him there just rolling through the camera. So first big under-23 World Cup for that rider.
We just saw Maxime Lom there as well, just inside the top 30. One of the riders affected by that crash early doors. Fastest lap then. First of all, probably no surprise on lap 1, 8:53. Went off like a cruise missile.
Yeah, he's now rolling around 9th place at the moment, so he's stabilised a bit.
Yeah, I think he's one of those riders cashing in the benefits of being in that big group. Trudel looking imperious out front currently, although that has now dropped to 31 seconds, so maybe that group is just beginning to get a bit more organised, starting to rein him in.
Yeah, I'd be interested if it's that 20-30 seconds, if it's floating around there with a couple to go. think once that group start having a real scrap and fighting amongst each other, there's that bit of synergy then. And at the moment, they're just working well together, the two KMC guys especially. And
I'm into the metallic blue of that cube.
yeah, that looks sweet, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does look good. If I'm being nitpicky, I could do without the white cables, but I mean that's a personal choice.
Not to match the Euro Champs top. I'll get us a point for that. No.
It's a solid no to white cables from me. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's kind of the worst of both worlds. Interesting Johnson on that middle line that we haven't really seen anyone taking to do, but the trade-off of that is you've got to square off the left-hander after it. But quite hard.
I think it was fast. You know, it's a safer option. That inside line, we've only seen one rider clear it. And
that was tidily around that second gap there. Looked like it worked actually. Delivered him onto the bottom of that climb with some speed as they head up past the water tower.
Yeah, and Hoogs, key patchy rider, like I say, first year in this category out of the juniors, 4th place now.
Rens, Tunis and Van Manen. Trudel has found 2 seconds at the start of this lap. So there's big work to do here. Yeah, you kind of get the feeling that Trudel might have just stabilised, but it takes a hard left around that rock, doesn't he? Flirting with disaster there.
But Tunison's fast through this section, through the Red Bull energy zone, carrying really good speed. Whereas you see Trudel previously was taking the B line, it just loses a little bit of time.
That 800 or 900 metre section of track is kind of cross-country racing in a nutshell nowadays, isn't it? It's like all or nothing on the descent, and then full gas on that punch on the way back up it. Wow. Tunis and Van Manen telling the front end of that Ridley which way to go. Whoa. Shelikin's getting kicked just off that drop there. Back end rising up underneath him.
Rocco Grogan carrying some really good speed down through there, trying to get back to this group. I said this front group was about 16 at one point, went down to 8, now down to 4.
Sondre Rocca in 6th. Cornelius on the number 20 bike, on the Massey. It's a great shot this through this berm. You can actually hear by the noise of the bikes who's hooking it up well.
Like that 30-second gap that's kind of floating around. It's on this sort of course, and especially with this heat as well building up, that's not huge. That's not a kind of safe gap or so. You need
34 seconds the gap from Rens, Tunis and Van Manen off the back wheel on your screen now. Oh, just had to duck his shoulder around that tree. Is that a telltale sign of fatigue starting to set in with Trudel?
He's just trying to carry as much momentum as possible off those doubles into that climb, and it's a tight corner. It's a good save. He's followed down through the...
You can see him just drops the seat, gets some aero tuck, trying to get a wee micro recovery. And
we saw Ellen McLean-Howell doing it in U23s, just in this little small sections, just sitting back, even with a dropper down.
Here we go. Talk us through it.
Yeah, Toynerson on this B line, it's a bit more choppy. It's a bit safer, but it's a bit more choppy. Comes through and it sets you up not quite as well for this big jump section.
Here we go. Watch the kick here, and Shelikin's behind him. Whoa. Holds the line, though.
But that whole section all the way down, really messy. There's a lot going on. There's no clear line.
Look at Rens, Tunis and Van Manen throwing the whips through this jump section. He's a rider, I remember, kind of sort of struggling with that section last season, and now just styling it out mid-race, lap 4 out of 7.
Yeah, another rider you can tell they've done their homework this winter on the tech stuff.
And that is a sign of comfort, isn't it? Of just recovering, of just playing with your bike. Throwing the back end out.
if you're on lap 4 of 7 and you're still throwing some whips, then you know you're probably feeling pretty good.
At the opening UCI World Cup of the year, I think the high water mark for that behaviour was Charlie Aldridge's front of the Olympic race toboggan, where he reached the handback and grabbed hold of the saddle mid-air.
What a lad.
That's imagine if that had gone wrong. I know that's not the point, but imagine it.
Lose his passport.
This group has splintered now into a group of 4. They're still 32 seconds off the leader, but just wonder if the pick of the litter from that group can start to work together now to do something about that, as Trudel leads them on to lap 5 out of 7 here in Araxá. Three laps to go here at the opening UCI Cross Country Olympic World Cup race for the under-23 men. Finn Trudel leads the way for Switzerland. Rens Tunis van Managen of the Netherlands in second place, leading a powerful group of 4 behind him. There is the series overall leader after yesterday's short track race. Sander Rocket just taking a gel. Ollie, in terms of fueling, food, water, does it make a difference if you're riding in a group as to what you're consuming, or do you stick to the plan? Always stick to the plan with these ones. They'll have a certain amount of water that they know they want to consume each lap. It won't be a full water, but it's only a 9-minute lap. So the guys have got it so dialed that they know what they can drink or what they want to drink, and they will fill the bottle only for that amount. So they know that in 9 minutes, what they don't want to do is no point in taking a heavy water bottle up the climb. So they'll be riding, I would have maybe something like 200 ml of water in a 500 ml bottle, knowing that that's what I need to have. I need to take the minimum amount of weight up a hill and just nail that bottle, done. I mean, ideally, you want to have all your water drunk for your lap here, then nothing on the climb, because there's nowhere to really drink till you get back to that feed again. So, but they'll be measuring it out to the mil in those water bottles. That still blows my mind, that stat. Why drink any more than you need to when it's 28 degrees and you're in a rainforest? But key one today, you'll see people, there's a limit of how much, especially when you're working really hard, how much fluid you can absorb through your stomach. So therefore it's trying to cool using water down the back of the neck, on the head. If it gets really hot, you see people using ice on their wrists. Rens Tunis and Van Manen just slipping a pedal there, but he stays in touch. But he's lost the lead of this group, the 2 KMC Ridley riders, him and Tom Schellikens, back to back. And now it is the turn of Gustav Ebbe Peterson. And Nikolai Hoog's moving up to 3rd now. Yeah, Nikolai Hoog's looking really good in his first UCI World Cup race. And the key indication to see how riders are performing is to look at their number boards. So that's their, in this race, in the elite, it's got a bit mixed up at the moment, but in this under-23 race, that was their ranking coming into the start of this season. 42 seconds now, that gap up to Trudler. So Trudler's had a good go on that last lap. I'm just looking, it is nowhere near the first lap of first of all. 2.8 seconds slower in flat, but it is the second fastest off the race so far from your leader, Finn Trudel, on that last lap. There he is on our screen now. So it's like he sat in for a bit, recovered for a couple of laps, and now he's looking to finish this one off in some style. I say sticking to the plan, just dismounting on that rooty corner. He would have had that one as a plan before the start. He would have timed the gaps between 2 or 3 of them, the lines, and working out which one was best. One of the rare ones to dismount. It has become a lot closer to the downhill world cross-country racing, hasn't it? Where the courses have got shorter over the last 10 years, but equally that means that you can analyse every single line on them and work out what the perfect lap delta is. I'd say they would have been doing, so much Finn Trudel would have done 5, 6, 7 laps in Recce during the previous 2 days before. There's the course opened on Thursday. They had Thursday, Friday to train on the grap, and then Saturday was short track. Most people would do the short track and then probably go and bang out just a little sighting lap. Just see how conditions have changed. Sander Rocket getting the applause off the crowd as he rides that inside line. deep in the race as well to be at that lap 5 out of 7 here in Araxá. First 2 rounds of this year's UCI Cross Country World Cup coming to you from the Minas Gerais region of Brazil. The Grand Hotel here in Araxá, famous for its thermal spas, is, I'm happy to say, our home. If there's a better buffet in Brazil, I'll eat my own hat as well as most of that buffet. Finn Trudel leads the way in this chasing group. Gustav Heavy Pedersen, Nikolai Hoogs, second and third for the time being. Shelikin's looking like he's struggling to cope with the pace of this in 5th. There he is on your screen now. He's been in the wars as well. Shelikin, you can see the dirt down the right-hand side of the jersey. Looks like he's been down quite heavily as well, somewhere along the lines in the opening laps.
I think we're going to see the pace of this group just increasing steadily as we go through these next couple of laps. I was worried that Finn Trudel might have just gone off that bit fast following that early pace, but not looking like it at the moment, extending the gap to 47 seconds
47 seconds. It's heading towards a minute quite quickly. Finn Trudel. Here we go down through this descent. Let's have a look at Hoogs as he leads the train.
Hoogs right out of his stint, first year in U23s, having moved up from juniors last year, and he's smashing his descent straight through the middle.
Really confident descending from Hoogs, that. You just caught a glimpse of Pacanella trying to get on the back in 6th place of this group. There he is at the bottom of the climb now. So the Italian arriving late to the party, but arriving nonetheless.
Yeah, Paganella as well. Best race last year, 16th. So big jump through if he can get a top 8. So maybe top 5 if he pushes luck.
We mentioned it at the top of the show, but that is what's fascinating about this season, is that, you know, the riders we were talking about at the front all last season have mostly moved up into elites, and now you've got this fresh batch of new blood.
So Finn Trudel was 5th overall last year. Everyone above him had all moved up into the elite ranks. Some really class riders. Yeah, move through. Probably top of the list, Bjorn Riley Amos, Luca Martin, all going up.
Riley Amos making his cross-country Olympic UCI World Cup debut later on this afternoon, last race of the day. And if the Paris Olympics were to go by, he could be a real factor in it, in those games, in 7th on his debut.
Yeah, hit the ground running, didn't he? Jeez. Yeah, ride of the day so far in my book. Nikolai Hoogs as well, just rolling second at the moment at the front of this group of 3, putting the pressure on.
Rens Tunis and Van Manen just recognising that he needs to stay on that back wheel of Pedersen. It's so easy to get collected by the rider in front of you through that rock section.
It's got an awkward little lip just on the backside, and it just stalls the rider in front, and then the next rider kind of almost hits the back of them. In this one section now, just chance for a little bit of recovery, but not for Schellens. He's got no time to recover. He's got to chase back on. If he can get back on that group before the long flat section, means he can just sit in the slipstream a little bit, get a bit of recovery. You don't want to be in no man's land at the moment there. Schellens going to have to get a wiggle on to get onto the back of that group. Finn Trudel still like 40 seconds out in front, 44 now at the moment. Hoogs, Pedersen, Tunnison in that second group.
Yep, this one shaping up nicely, but there is no stop on this man on your screen now, the rider out front. Finn Trudel sees the board, 2 laps to go, still really swinging at it all.
No, he's going, he's in good form. What a rider, I mean, he's, like I say, sits low, aero, hitting every A-line on the course.
Cube Factory Racing, of course, have Kira Baum making her elite UCI Cross Country Olympic World Cup debut in the race to follow this one. Certainly didn't seem too fazed by the short track, no. Kira Baum.
No, not at all. Straight in. Decent start position due to a good UCI rank or world ranking coming in, but yeah, capitalised on that. Rolled a top 10 in her debut. Interesting one at the moment. I've just realised, of course, that Finn Trudel and Nikolai Hughes both on Cube Factory Racing. So whether Nikolai might just be happy rolling at this front group for a little bit. It's not in his interest maybe to trace his teammate down.
Yeah, one of the big bike brands, Cube, won their first UCI World Cup ever in any format with Kira Baum back in Lenzerheide 2 years ago. And fair play to them, still continuing to invest heavily in these young talents. And this is really the reset button, isn't it, Ollie, where the Olympic cycle has just begun again.
Yep.
We've seen a lot of the big teams, Cannondale Factory Racing, for example, invest in a lot of young riders because they want a group they can continue to work with over the next 4 years before we head to the next games.
Yeah, and it is cross-country Olympic. That Olympic Games really does decide how the teams are formed and also the worth of riders as well. And you see some riders as well. Mark Brenchins at KMC, and you see two of his riders and crews always being really aware of picking riders from teams. It's always a very big Olympic focus for that team.
Well, I can see that man on our screen now at the back of that pack, Pacanella. Third fastest lap of the race so far from him on that last one, so pushing on.
Tunison, just good ride for him, just sitting in the wheels on the flat and then going into that corner, just taking the lead. It's nice to be at the front on this section. Clear track.
Always fascinating for me that this sport is so ridiculously physical, yet riders are capable of setting their fastest laps deep into the race whenever reserves of everything are at rock bottom. Rens, Tunis and Van Manen now back to the front, so he sat in there for a couple of laps, Ollie, but looks like he's recovered well. Shelikins continues to hang in there as well. They haven't shaken him.
Yeah, Shelikins just swinging a little bit. I think on this next lap, my guess would be he'll get properly dispatched as the pace goes up.
As we watch our race leader, Finn Trudel, picking his way through the routes here in Araxá, the opening round of the UCI Cross Country Olympic World Cup for the under-23 men. He has been the class of the field so far today, 45 seconds the distance back to Rens, Tunis and Van Manen, but from that flying Dutchman backwards, everyone still in the top 6, all welded together, so battle about to kick off here. Trudel, really sort of really pronounced descending style, isn't it? He's so far over the front of the bike, whenever the back wheel comes up, it often looks like he's getting a kick from it, but he seems to be comfortable with it, as we see Tunis and Van Manen and Nikolai Hughes starting to just put a bike length into Gustav Heavy Pedersen as they headed towards the base of that final little punch.
And that gap to Trudel as well. Sitting there, 47 seconds, just slowly creeping out, a few seconds every minute or so. Yeah, Shelikins now just going back, 8 seconds.
55 seconds, yeah, from 5th place to the lead of the race. So Trudel, 47 seconds in the lead. Lonely race for Trudel as well, hard to keep focus.
I think it's quite a nice place to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's work place to be, certainly, yeah.
But in terms of just being able to, you're always going to get your line, see the track, got no one getting. The only downside on this track of being on your own is just that long start finish straight where you've just got to push the wind. The rest of it, I'd be quite happy. I don't think you're going to lose any time.
Track looking like it is running faster than it has done all week.
Yeah, and it's nice to see, actually. I think there's some tracks where you go, actually, if we've got a bit of rain, it would spice it up a bit, but I think this one's spicy enough.
It doesn't need any spice, this one. Tell you what, he makes tenths of a second every time on the first half of that climb, Trudel, doesn't he? Really soldiers his way up it.
And I think you're looking at his lap time, super consistent, and that's what it's all about. It's about getting from A to B as quick as you can. You want all your lap times to be within 10, 15 seconds of each other.
It is getting hotter here in Araxá, and I can tell you how I know that, temperature aside. The line for the ice cream van opposite the commentary booth is getting longer. Fans seeking any way possible to cool down as we watch Rens, Tunis, Van Manen definitely not cooling down through that really technical little Red Bull descent, and this is the base of the climb where they need to really attack to carry speed up the top of it. This one is starting to go up a couple of clicks, Ollie.
Yeah, this is where you see they're going to start fighting for that part. I think they probably, with thinking that Trudler's probably a little bit getting to the point where he's got a healthy lead, but they're going to start fighting for that second and third place.
Look, we say it every race that a 45-second lead doesn't take long to disintegrate with a puncture. These bikes running 17, 18 PSI on the tyres, absolutely nothing.
And it's just as the fatigue builds, you've only got to get slightly offline on one of those A lines. Just catch a rock, especially there's just further down. This one's not too bad, but as you get to the ones further down with the big rock sections and the big roots, just catch one of those, it'll be enough to rip a tyre or burp a tyre.
I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I do remember talking to a technical coach not that long ago whose rider had just got a puncture, and sort of trying to commiserate with them and saying bad luck, and they said no, it's not bad luck. If he'd prepared better, he'd be in better shape. He wouldn't have hit that line. He wouldn't have got his line wrong, made the mistake, got the puncture, and you're sort of like, feels tough, but I mean, that's the level UCI World Cup cross-country racing's at nowadays.
Yeah, if you hit something, that's not bad luck, that's an error. But there is bits of glass on this that we did find. We saw when we were running during the week on the lap. There is little bits of glass on the course, and when it rains, they seem to find themselves to the surface, and you know, that's bad luck.
Yeah, that is bad luck. Rens, Tunis and Van Manen then second place currently. Nicolai Hoogs trying to motor his way past the big Dutchman. Oh, Tunis and Van Manen having to unclip, dabs a foot, gets clipped back in again. They're all back together for the battle for second place at the top of the climb now. Yeah,
I think Hoogs just senses that he's probably got the edge on Soineson on the descents, and if he can just get in, nudge in front.
I have to say, really enjoying the riding style of Nicolai Hoogs, the rider in second wheel as you look at it now, third in the race so far. He just seems to have a really planted shape on the bike.
Yeah.
Doesn't move around a lot, just stays locked in, lets the bike absorb a lot of the energy and tells it exactly where he wants to go.
Yeah, and a good ride as well with Pedersen at the moment. Just, you know, he was one of the riders that were in the mix this year, so we'd expect him to come forward and get involved, but good race so far. He's just sat, he never got involved too much, not wasted any energy. He's just always sat near the rear of that group, and as people have got dispatched, he just kept coming past them, and you know, we were a lap to go now. He's in the hunt for a podium. Yeah, really smart riding.
Yeah, we are about to see this one, I think, really ignite as they head towards the base of the climb for the final time. Positioning for that will be key, but first of all, they need to circumnavigate this little lake section. That I can tell you now, the leader of the race, Finn Troyder's just gone past our commentary booth with smoke coming off the back of his bike. He's going that hard at it, Ollie.
Yeah, he's got the aero socks, the aero helmet.
He's got somewhere to be.
His chin on the stem.
It's 39 seconds back, the distance back to this group, so it has come down. So maybe he's just got word that it wouldn't hurt if you got anything left in the tank, just to make sure that this one doesn't come back to bite you. The series leader, Sondre Rokke, the Norwegian, is in 7th currently.
Yeah, I think Troyder, he's locked into time trial mode, but we're going to see a real big scrap now for second.
Here we go. Hold on to your seats. This one is about to get very, very noisy in Araxá. Troidler Teunisson, Van Manen, Hoogs, Pedersen, Schellekens. The battle for second place looks to be really on here.
Yeah, and Schellekens recovering really well. He was pretty distanced by 10 seconds at the top of the hill, but he's almost back on this group now.
Tell you what a fighter Tom Schellekens is.
Yeah.
He's hung in there and he's had that mental battle of being 3 or 4 bike lengths behind this group the whole time, and he's not let it beat him.
And you think for him it's that first big World Cup back after some time on the road, and it's a tough World Cup to come back to, this one. Super technical. You imagine we get to something like a Leogang and Leger, which is a bit more less technical and more of a physical circuit.
I'll tell you this right now, you and I will be doing a lot less running in the mornings than Leogang. One of the steepest courses ever. But here we go, Ollie.
Right,
talk us through the base of this climb.
Really pivotal point now. We're going to see this group scrap, and you want to be first wheel, and we see Schellekens accelerating up the outside. He wants that main line on the inside.
What a signal of intent from Tom Schellekens. Still, they can't get near that first fastest lap of the Norwegian, first of all.
That was impressive. Does he get a special prize for that if he goes around the first lap in under 9 minutes?
Didn't we threaten to take somebody out for dinner once if they got a fastest lap?
We haven't got the budget.
We haven't got the budget for that, sadly.
But in terms of that fight, it's Hoogs who got the fight for the corner.
Hoogs.
He's put the gap on, and this is bad for the other guys because we saw Schellekens was struggling a little bit. He's going to get in the way of the others.
We talked about how good a descender Nikolai Hoogs was. He's doing exactly the opposite here. Teunisson, Van Manen, you can see the pain starting to spread across the big Dutchman's face.
Started to rock and roll in the shoulders. But Hoogs, I know I've said it a couple of times, but I'm so impressed, to roll up third at Junior Worlds last year, coming up into U23. So most of these guys have got 2 years on him.
39 seconds the gap to this man, the race leader, class of the field by a comfortable margin. Finn Trudel just on clipping so that he can run this route section.
But that gap now, for the first time in a long time, it's dripped into the 39 seconds now. It's floated in the 40s for a long time.
But we saw in the last race, under 23 women's, you build that gap so you have a margin for safety, and nearly towards the second half, the final lap, no point risking anything, but Hoogs is going here, Rens Teunisson, Van Manen looks like he wants nothing more to do with this battle for second place. Gustav Heavy Pedersen takes up the chase for second now himself.
Schellekens as well, he's fighting, but there's not a lot left in that tank.
Here we go, Hoogs runs through the routes nice and neatly. Pedersen not just as neatly, but still gets through there safely. That's brought Schellekens back into it, stayed on his pedals. If Schellekens can get a third today after being on the deck early doors, that is a big statement of intent for the rest of the year.
Right, yeah. At the moment, we're looking like a Key Factory Racing 1-2.
Could just see as well out the window of my commentary booth, the King of Brazil is in the house, Henrik Avancini, joining us for the pre and post shows. On our way to you very, very shortly. Enjoying his time on the road at the minute.
Yeah. Decided that retirement wasn't for him. Fancied riding around the Tour of Serbia over a weekend.
Absolute animal. But back to Nikolai Hoogs. He's still continuing to just put half a metre here, half a metre there into this group behind him, and it looks like Gustav Heavy Pedersen.
Schellekens is not done yet.
And that is an Ollie Beckinsale telltale sign, checking over his shoulder.
Yeah.
Race is in front of you.
But what a scrap for this second place.
This is it though, taking the sections off now. Finn Trudel nearly has the job done.
Really class ride by Trudel as well, following that early pace.
Meanwhile, in a very different but no less intimidating part of the world, in Flanders, one of cycling's big days, Tour of Flanders, women's race underway. Pauline Ferrand-Prévot taking it on. If you like your mountain bike racing, you'll know all too well what that means. But it looks like the Dane has closed the gap to his compatriot.
Schelikens is not done yet, but he does lose a little bit of time down here. He goes on that outside B line, which is just that little bit slower, less direct.
See, it's just that second half of it. It stretches out slightly on him, doesn't it? Here we go on the base. Let's climb now. Heavy Pedersen attacks Nikolai Hooks and gets past him into second place at the top of that climb.
It's really difficult to get past now, all the way down. It means that Pedersen's got the line.
Trudel, Hooks, Pedersen.
But the pace they hit that climb then.
Pedersen, though, up into second for the time being. There's plenty of racing left in this one. Here is that move, Ollie.
Look at Pedersen up the outside, carries momentum off that corner. This is full power, 10-second sprint. But to do that on this last hour, amazing.
Deep into the race now. 37 seconds to gap to the leader, and this gap is now starting to extend as they hit those couple of berm corners. Pedersen accelerates out and finds the perfect gear on exit there and just powers his way back out into the rock section.
But Schelikens is not done yet either. I thought he was going to get dispatched. But yeah, he's still holding in there. 4 seconds. What a fighter.
Tom Schelikens refuses to give up on this third place. There's the leader. Finn Trudel. 34 seconds. I've just had an update too. Sits down, just lets the legs rest for a couple of seconds there. A handful of meters. He's played this one to a T all day, Ollie, hasn't he?
Good lap times, consistent. We haven't seen him put a foot wrong so far.
He dealt with the stress of getting across the Norwegian early doors.
That would have been stressful, somebody going at it, doing that first lap at some bonkers place. You know, truly bonkers out of the way he went out.
I really hope Ashley manages to grab a chat with him towards the end of it, because I'd love to hear what the game plan was. That we need some sort of, like most combative rider of the day award, because that was...
But fair play to him, he's still sitting there at the moment. Dropping off a little bit. 12th, 13th at the moment for early leader.
Yeah, first of all, 15th at the minute. Absolutely no shame in that, given that he still holds the lap record. So
gets the unofficial commentary prize for fastest lap of the day.
He gets Ollie and Rick's Tifo most aggressive rider of the day award. But meanwhile, the man who's going to pick up some actual rewards for this, Finn Trudel. 32 seconds.
Done.
It's all done, bar the stuffed capybara for this man. The smile, the grimace starts to turn into a smile. He rounds the last few bends and heads towards the start-finish line. We said right at the top of this that Finn Trudel was going to be one of the pre-season favourites. He has cashed out today. Finn Trudel, total mountain bike riding, takes the win here in Araxá, the first round of the UCI Cross Country Olympic World Cup for the under-23 men. Ollie, he's had months to think about that victory, and he did the job today.
Always super stressful, that first race.
Here we go then. Who is going to grab second place? It looks like Gustav Heavy Pedersen. It is. The two Danes have battled it out throughout the last few laps. It's going to be the more experienced one that takes the win. Gustav Heavy Pedersen for Villiers Vittoria crosses the line. Nikolai Hugsa, what a ride from him.
Ride of the day there.
Star of the future, Tom Schelikens bangs the bars. Has got absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. What a fighter that man is.
Yeah, for a comeback. A couple of years on the road, coming back to mountain bike. Initially disappointed, I'm sure, but I think once he sits there and recovers, I think he'll be pretty chuffed for that fourth place. I don't think we'll see him on the podium for sure soon.
Listen to what it means to Finn Trudel. Puff of the cheeks for Rens Tunis and Van Manen, but I tell you what, a much improved technical performance from him.
Again, another rider, I think he'll be initially disappointed, but in hindsight, banging out a 5th position, good start to the season, technical improvements.
He'll have been down the dirt jumps with Bart.
Yeah.
Finn Trudel, though.
That was a class ride, really controlled.
And at this age, as well, this age group, this age bracket, Trudel looks like a much bigger human being. He's put on certainly a bit of muscle mass from last season. Like, he used to be an out-and-out climber, skinny as a rake, but
Yeah, we see that through that Red Bull section, the physicality, press-ups, one after the other. You need a bit of strength endurance for this.
The Italian, Eliane Pacanella, 6th place. Then it was William Handley of Norway, Nathan Cornelion in 8th, Sondre Roque, the overall points leader going into this one in 9th. Owen Clark rounding out the top 10. Busy time of it in the under-23 men's cross-country Olympic. There is Braden Johnson. Good weekend for him. There is the holder of the fastest lap of the race, Martin Fjarstavold. Serious lap 1 pace that ended up just beaten on the last lap. 4th fastest lap of the race was Martin Fjarstavold's first lap. 3rd fastest went to Owen Clark, then Nikolai Hoogs, and then Gustav Heavy Peterson on the final lap. As they continue their battle for 2nd place, perhaps not surprisingly. There is your winner. There wasn't much wrong with that. Gustav Heavy Peterson takes the win. Excuse me, Finn Troidler. Gustav Heavy Peterson home in 2nd place, of course. Here's confirmation of that. Finn Troidler, Gustav Heavy Peterson 2nd, Nikolai Hoogs in 3rd, Tom Schellekens in 4th, Rens Tunis and Van Manen in 5th, Eliane Pacanella in 6th. All top 6 riders on elite teams. William Handley, Cornelion in there as well, Eckrol, Braden Johnson in 14th. Let's hear from the race winner. Let's head down to hear from Finn Troidler.
Finn, congratulations, the first XCO race of the season. You came 2nd here last season, and you weren't going to come away with anything less than 1st today, were you?
No, I was really determined on going for that 1st spot today. I came so close last year, and yeah, I knew with all the fast guys from last year moving up, I'm definitely one of the favorites, and I wanted to prove that today.
On the 5th lap, you really managed to pull away from the group. How hard is it to stay focused when you're out there on your own?
Yeah, it was really hard, especially with being on your own on the whole straights here with all the wind. And yeah, I lost my chain in the 2nd last lap. I was a bit scared, but I had a good gap and I kept it to the finish.
How tough is it to, stay into it when you've lost a chain and stay determined?
Yeah, I mean, I try to keep calm, and I knew I had the legs for even if they catch me again, so I wasn't that scared.
Huge start to the season. What are your ambitions going forward?
Yeah, I mean, a super good start with Nikolai coming in 3rd. It's amazing, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to next week and the whole season.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Finn Troidler. Absolutely superb today. Might well look forward to the rest of the season, and will now fancy a good run at the overall title. There is the lap comparison graphic then. You can see Troidler, that first half of the race really did some damage. And there's that fastest lap of the race from Gustav Heavy Peterson, 8:46 on lap 7. And we are going to hear from the fastest Dane in Brazil. He's down there now.
Davey, congratulations. What a result here in the first XCO race of the season. Let's just talk about that final attack on the last climb. Was that intentional, planned?
Yeah, I mean, the last lap over the finish line, Tom Shelligans came up and he got in between me and Nikolai, which was third. And I got a gap to Nikolai, but I was like, fucking hell, the gap just got bigger and bigger, and I was like, no, it's gone, I can't do it. But then on the downhill, I catch up to Nikolai a bit, and then I was just going all in. I gave all I had, but yeah, I'm dead now.
Apologies for some of the language there, but emotions are running high, I know. How pleased are you? Did you expect to get a result like that here this weekend?
Actually, no, but of course, always you think you want to do it, and you work the whole winter against this. So yeah, I mean, it was really nice, and it succeeded a bit, and yeah, I'm just super happy about this day.
Well done, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, apologies indeed. Gustav A. Pedersen, let the emotions getting the better of him. You love to see it though, that's what it means. So here is how the overall looks then after the short track and the cross-country Olympic. Trudel leads the way. Gustav A. Pedersen. Tom Shelligans in third. Sondre Roque in fourth. Rens Tunis and Van Manen fifth. The elite teams, riders on them taking control of the overall early doors. Well, we can go down there now. Ashley is with one of the stars of the day, Nikolai Hoogs. Let's hear what he made of it.
Nikolai, congratulations. What a result here in Araxá, and what a final lap. Did you feel Pedersen behind you?
Yeah, I just felt like in the last lap I had to do everything to get up a gap behind me. I just went all out on the last climb to the top.
You seem to be very much part of a group, sticking together. What was your strategy today?
Just keeping up with the others, seeing how strong they were, where they were faster than me, and then just on the last lap, yeah, I gave it everything.
And how much confidence does a podium finish here give you for the rest of the season?
Very much. I'm very, very happy for the podium, of course. So yeah, much confidence.
Brilliant result. Well done today.
Thank you.
Nikolai Hoogs will fancy a couple of positions higher next weekend. Round 2 also in Araxá here. Tom Shelligans, what might have been for him today. Supremely combative stuff from the Dutchman. There she is, the Grand Hotel. Bore witness to a great battle today. At the first round of the UCI Cross-Country Olympic World Cup for the under 23 men, there was drama right from the start. A huge pile-up on the rider's left-hand side of the track, sparked by Paul Schell. All riders up and moving after that one. A couple of the big names down and out. After that, it was a battle as ever on to the first climb. But it was the Norwegian, first of all, who broke free and set what would be one of the fastest laps of the race. To break free at the front. He was soon pegged back by this man, Finn Trudel. The reigning European Continental Champion was in no mood for hanging around. A group behind him quickly formed, but over the second, third and fourth laps, Trudel built an unassailable lead. The KMC Ridley pairing of Rens Tunis Van Manen and Tom Shelligans in the green jerseys battle with the two Danes, Gustav Heavy Pettersson, Nikolai Hoogs, for second place. But there was no stopping Trudel for Cube Factory Racing out front. Came into the season as one of the favourites and would certainly leave round one as the favourite for the overall title early doors. Rens Tunis van Manen, one of the most improved riders of this off-season, but it was this move from Gustav Heavy Pettersson, who slotted himself into second place. Look at what it meant to Trudel, though. An off-season well spent. Delivered the Swiss star the victory in Araxá. Well, plenty more racing to come this afternoon from Araxá. Elite UCI cross-country Olympic World Cup racing on its way to you very, very shortly. Nikolai Hoogs announcing himself on the world stage today. Superb ride from the Dane. Denmark machining out young mountain biking talent at the minute. Cube Factory Racing, one of those brands and teams really investing in future talents of the sport, and at this, the year that sees the start of a brand new Olympic cycle. Not a bad time to do it. You could say it's Danish domination as they pick up 2 out of the 3 podium spots. But as ever in cross-country racing, you're going to have to beat the Swiss. The UCI European Continental Champion Finn Trudel started today as the favourite, ends today as the series overall points leader. And proud owner of a stuffed capybara. Something we're all jealous of, I think it's fair to say. And I should point out that it is a toy, it's not actually a taxidermy stuffed capybara. Trudel from Gustav Heavy Pettersson from Nikolai Hoogs. Hoogs first to the champagne.
What a performance!
It's an expensive way to cool down, but it's effective. These 3 class acts here in Araxá. Finn Trudel was just too much for everyone today. Dealt with the stress of the early crash and red hot pace on lap 1. Got the job done. 29 seconds his winning margin. It was much, much greater than that at times. Then it was Pettersson, Hoogs, Schellikens, Tunis and Van Manen. Sasha Hudima back in 18th. Would have hoped for more out of today for KMC Ridley. Galvão, the highest placed Brazilian. There it is. The red jersey of the overall points leader. goes to the Cube Factory Racing start. Finn Trudel will line up next Saturday, resplendent in red. And I would hazard a guess that is going to be hunting for the nearest bit of shade. It's getting windy out there at the minute, but the heat beginning to rise. Finn Trudel leads the way in the overall then by 20 points from Gustav A. Pettersson. Tom Schillikens in third, Sandra Roque, who led on the way into this one, in fourth. First of all, the early pace setter, 15th in the overall. Promising start to what will be a hectic year of under-23 men's racing. Well, as the drummers start, they sound the arrival of the cross-country Olympic elite UCI World Cup racing. 6:30 Central European time, elite women coming to you from Araxá. 8:30, we'll see the elite men take to one of the best courses the sport has ever seen. Don't go anywhere. There's plenty more to come from Araxá.